For all the talk at guard line, what really matters is Lauri Markkanen. We'll talk about it next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 bum.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA Insider. Today, we look at Lauri Markkanen's dominating performance against Portland. And remember, that's what this really is all about. Will Hardy managing, using, changing, finding, creatively coming up with some really interesting lineups that might be some answers for the Utah Jazz. Jordan Clarkson gets inserted in the starting lineup. Is that a better answer than what we've seen so far? We'll look at some of the combinations that the Jazz played together in that matchup against the Portland Trailblazers, which the Jazz were really good. And we play the New Zealand Breakers. Who are the New Zealand Breakers? We'll take a quick look at that for you as well. That's all coming up on today's show. As I mentioned, I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA Insider, and this is Locked on Jazz. It's a daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. We are free and available on all podcasting platforms, including YouTube. So please subscribe. We do love our 5-star reviews. We're not going to lie to you about that. We super appreciate it. If you can do that on Apple or Spotify, subscribe on YouTube. And our YouTube question of the day is, what was most impressive to you about the win over the Portland Trailblazers? Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. What was most impressive to me, there's no doubt, and that was Lauri Markkanen. He was flat out dominant. And I tell you what, I think that you have to, at time, we've talked about so many things and so many guard line questions and so many of this. And I had a great conversation with Tim Lacombe, our analyst on for pregame, halftime, postgame on radio. Like, we're odd. That was the way he said it. I loved it. We're odd. And it's a little hard to figure out who we are and what we're doing and how it's all going to play together and how it's going to work and who fits where, and we got all these guards, and they all kind of intermix, and we're all trying to choose our favorites and how we think. It comes down to Lauri. Like, if Lauri is as good as he was last year, then we're pretty good. And if Lauri's better, which I thought at times against Portland, he just absolutely dominated and crushed them, then that gets interesting. And I've said all year long that I think there's 4 breakout candidates in the NBA this year. Anthony Edwards talked about one. LaMelo Ball, to me, is another. I don't know how Donovan gets better than he did last year, but and when I mean breakout, what I mean is the guy, not like Anthony Simons breakout. I mean like what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did last year. Not Cade Cunningham. The NBA GMs took Cade Cunningham as their breakout. He's a number 1 pick who took a break, who got hurt. Like, that's not a breakout. The GM survey sometimes indicts the GMs. I'm talking about somebody who goes from the realm that they're ranked in the NBA and takes it to the next level. So right now, if you look at NBA rank, like Lauri's 27 and LaMelo's like 36 and Anthony Edwards is up a little higher than he probably should be. And Donovan, and it's those players that have a chance to go to where Shai went. Shai's top 10 on NBA rank right now. So, to me, Lauri's one of those guys. He does it with increased confidence, knowing that he's the man coming in from the year before. He does it with an understanding, as Thurl pointed out on the TV broadcast the other night, an understanding of all of the guys around him, understanding he's the man. Last year was such a blank slate. Nobody really knew. It took till this moment during the season where Will Hardy, in the middle of a film session, like hits pause and is like, does everybody understand Lauri's our best player? And Lauri heard that. And Lauri's never had someone say that about him before. Lauri's never had that be the case. So you take those two mental things, the confidence, the belief of everyone around him, and then you take some physical things. Okay, he's physically just remarkable. Like, again, during the TV broadcast the other night, Thurl says, well, there's not many 7-footers who can do that. I was like, how many others? And it's how many other 7-footers can put it on the deck, drive into the lane, bang off somebody, hang in the air, and finish? Like, the player that's most similar to Lauri in a lot of ways is Kevin Durant. Durant's shooting touch is better, but Lauri's is not like it shot 40% from 3 last year. It's like it's not an insane. I know it sounds crazy because he's Kevin Durant, but Durant can do some things Lauri can't do, and Lauri can do some things that Kevin Durant can't do. What Kevin Durant can do that Lauri can't do is Kevin Durant just puts it on the deck, creates his own space, steps back into a J for 29 a night. Lauri's got to use a little bit more force and power. But if you just go to 3-point shooting for a second, so just pure shooting touch, on 5 3-point attempts last year, Kevin Durant shot 40%. On 5 3-point shot attempts, he shot 40%. Lauri last year, on 8 3-point attempts a game, shot 39%. The shooting between the two of them is not crazy different. What is Durant's ability to get into his bag in the mid-range and hit that 15-foot jumper to that 18-foot jumper. That's what separates Durant and makes him a bona fide go-to scorer in the league. Now, that's the question. At 7-1, there's no reason why Lauri can't actually add that. And so does he. Durant on 10 to 16-footers shot 53%, and incredibly on 16-footers from 16 to 3-point range, Durant shoots 54%. So Durant shoots 55% or so on these 10-foot to 3-point line mid-range jumpers, and he takes 47% of his shots there. It's a lot. Now, he's great at it. Lauri doesn't need to take 47% of his shots there because Lauri has a much better game of going to the rim and is able to get on top of the cup in a way that Durant doesn't have any interest in doing, nor after his injuries do I think he can do. What's subtly interesting about Lauri last year is from 10 to 16 feet, he shot 52%. And from 16 feet to the 3-point line, he shot 45%. Now, he only does it 9% of the time. I don't know that I want him to do it that much more, but let's say he does it 15% of the time, adds it up and makes 50% of those shots, he's suddenly unguardable. And I don't think there's any reason why he can't do that. I don't want him to, he doesn't need to be a mid-range maven the way Booker and Durant are, though, frankly, in the playoffs, you're probably going to need some of that. He scored in so many different ways the other night. If you go run through on NBA TV, on NBA.com, you can go to his account and you can go get his 9 field goal attempts. You have 2 cutters early in the game. You have a jump, then some jump shots. Then Shaedon Sharpe, for whatever reason, leaves him wide open from 3 and he buries it. Then he puts back on an offensive rebound, which Durant's not doing. I think Lauri can average 29, 30 points a game is what I'm trying to get at here. And the Jazz are using him in so many different facets. Some ISO, mostly coming off pins, mostly curling, using that strength, having an advantage, knockdown dead-eye shooting, and there's going to be an occasional this year, give him the ball. And if Lauri takes the jump, that's actually what matters. Jordan Clarkson started. It felt and looked great. We'll talk about that when we continue. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross, as well as in Logan. The Chevy lineup of cars, it's just really not much else like it, right? You've got the SUV lineup, but really you got the Colorado and the Silverado truck. And it is truck season coming into the winter. and through the fall right now. So make sure you jump on some of the great deals that are going on at Murdoch Chevy. The SUV lineups are great. The new Chevy Trax is sweet looking. The Blazer's awesome. I think I told you we were in Hawaii, and I was like, whoa, what's that? Oh, it's a Blazer. And you can get 0% for 3 years and no payments for 90 days on various trucks and cars over at Murdoch Chevy, plus 2 ski passes with the purchase of any new Chevy to Solitude Ski Resort. So I will see you there. It is all at Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross out in Logan. Feel free to email me first and get you your VIP experience that you need and deserve as an everydayer on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. It's time to get out to the games, see the Jazz, see an NFL game, see a concert, last-minute tickets. Game Time is your answer. You should not have to worry ever again about buying tickets for the next big event. Game Time is fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, concerts, theater, whatever it is, with killer last-minute deals, guaranteed best price, Game Time, and view of all your seats. Game Time takes care of everything you worry about in ticket buying. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals are all there for you. But what I love is you get the pictures of the seats. You know it's going to be guaranteed best price because otherwise you're getting 110% back. And you have event cancellation protection as well. That's all at the Game Time app. Create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code, spell out LOCKEDONNBA for $20. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free, available on all podcasting apps, including our good friends over at YouTube. I got a neat experience, unfortunate circumstances, but a neat experience this weekend, and I did TV. And I will be doing it again tonight. Craig's dealing with some family issues. So first and foremost, our thoughts to the Buller Jack family. That is a tight-knit family, and feeling for him. So few thoughts for you. One, did you get Jazz Plus? My wife took Jazz Plus, put it up on the Roku that we have in the house, and literally just stream the game through there. Seamless, incredible, great experience. It's just $125 a season and 50 cents a season. So it's less than $1.50 a game. I think you still get a ticket, 2 tickets to an upcoming game, a hat, and a t-shirt. So it's like basically free. But so yeah, there's a Roku app if you have Roku. If you don't have Roku, it's pretty cool. You also can get it all in K-Jazz, but Jazz Plus is available, and there's a fun shooting with Tony Finau, video now on Jazz Plus exclusive, all sorts of stuff. Second, so please get your Jazz Plus. I'll be back on tonight, so tune in. Second thing, you guys are super lucky. I think you should listen to the radio every single night because Ron and I have a great time. But they win Emmys every year. It's like guaranteed that Travis Henderson, Jeremy Brunner, Scott Rogers, Nathan Harker, and the crew is going to win an Emmy every year. Like, it's amazing. And I learned why. They're incredible. It was, first of all, I had not done TV I don't think I'd done TV since I moved to Salt Lake. So I hadn't done TV since I did Washington Huskies basketball and football. I actually think it could have been an Oxygen broadcast on the WNBA playoff game with Rebecca Lobo. And they just walked me through the night, like made it so easy and so incredible. And you guys as fans are you never think about the TV production guys, but they're the ones who actually impact your life the most as a fan. If you're watching the team, you're so lucky to have who you have running it. Their names are Travis Henderson, Jeremy Brunner, Scott Rogers does the graphic, Nathan Harker, Joe Kruger works a lot. I don't know who was on what's called the Elvis, which is the replay machine, but he was amazing. So anyway, you guys are just super, super lucky to have that. Just, really, it was a cool thrill, and to work with Thurl, who's the best, was really neat. So I'll be doing it again tonight against New Zealand Breakers. And then Bowler, I'm expecting Bowler to be back by opening night. Maybe even by Sacramento. I'd hope not. I hope he just takes some time. So anyway, thoughts to the Bowler Jacks. Incredible experience to work with these guys. And Carrie Bullock is in there too. She does amazing work. They did their whole new graphics package this year. It looks incredible. But anyway, it's just not a group you guys think about a lot. I have never worked with them directly like that. I see them work all the time and always wowed. It was just really, really cool. All right, Jordan Clarkson started. I think it's the answer. And the interesting thing about it is because he's the second best passer on the team. What an incredible statement about the growth of Jordan Clarkson. And Jordan Clarkson just made a ton of plays early in this game that our other guys, frankly, aren't making. And if you go back and look at the first quarter and rewatch it, we get a bunch of corner threes because Jordan Clarkson can penetrate the lane with his eyes up and his ability to end up getting a bunch of looks off of Jordan Clarkson's action. But frankly, that's not, if Colin Sexton's starting, that's not his strength. It's not entirely Talen's either. But JC had 3 assists in the first quarter that summarize why I think actually you put him in the starting line. The other thing I'd just say about starting lines, we'll talk about this more this week because this is on my topics. Start your 5 best players. Don't get confused. There's very, very few lineups that actually play together for an extended period of time in the game. And your starting lineup is generally guaranteed to play at least 12 minutes together, maybe 10. No other 5-man lineup is going to play 10 minutes together at all. So, play your 5 best players. And Jordan's one of our 5 best players. He's our 2nd best player. His passing skills, he went from 2.4 assists to nearly 5 last year, are why he has to start. He just makes us so much better, and his control and calmness. When he penetrates the lane, he knows where the options are. He understands it. He's gravity. People are concerned about him. He's not driving the lane, jump stopping, and then deciding, which is what we see too often from some others. So Jordan's passing early, whether it was a pass to the corner for a 3 or just a rotation out to find Lauri. There was a fast break play where he found Lauri intentionally, like Lauri's rolling a little bit. Let me go get it to Lauri. There was just a total understanding by Jordan Clarkson of how to play the game the other night that is just at a different level than anyone else and just makes the offense work, whether it's in transition or in the half court. And I thought it was really obvious the other night. Now, Portland's not the Clippers, and they're not Paul George, Robert Covington, and Kawhi Leonard and their depth, and nor are the New Zealand Breakers, frankly. But I think you could just feel it and see what Jordan did to the lineup. And that really helped. The structure was much more in tune when Jordan was there. According to Colin and Jordan in the press conferences the other day, Will has changed the offense in 2 regards. 1, in some spacing things that I'm not quite sure I understand. And 2, every coach talks about running. But the truth in the NBA, or at least for the Jazz last year and the NBA, is that the Jazz ran 10 times a night off of misses. And they had 14 transition opportunities a night last year. Okay? Actually, take that back. Depending on your metric, it's either 14 or 15.5. The Jazz ranked 23rd in the NBA in transition last year. Why? Because they didn't force turnovers in the second half of the season, so they didn't get out and run on turnovers. It's not because they didn't run off. You don't run off of makes. Chauncey Billups told us the other night that on push-ahead passes, which you hear coaches talk about, there's 4 or 5 a game. That's it. He'd like to have 7 or 8. So last year, off of a rebound, the Jazz got 10 transition opportunities off of a rebound last year. Off it, somebody misses, and they turned it into transition 10. The best in the league was 12. It's just not that many possessions. So yes, that's a focus. But there's a renewed focus on let's get into the half court and let's get into structure and let's run something correctly. And in the first quarter of the game the other night against Portland, we saw it. Guys came off curls. John Collins and Lauri got curls into the paint. They spread the floor better to give, Will said pregame he wanted to spread the floor better to give his guards some driving lanes. We absolutely saw them, Clarkson, and get into the lane. We saw THT get into the lane. We saw a lot of difference in how the Jazz were playing and a level of structure, and I think Jordan's a large part of it. It also allows the Jazz to do some other things and some other combinations that we haven't seen before that are really interesting. I'll get into here in a second. We're not going to do points gained today. Just there's too much good stuff, and we'll do it Tuesday, Wednesday this week, or Wednesday, Thursday this week. And there's a lot of debate about points gained, so it needs some time. It needs a little texture. So We'll get into the combinations here in a second, but the real thing we got to see was the Jazz actually run their stuff, and Will Hardy's running interesting, exciting things. This is not a pick and roll team. We talked about it the other day for the everydayers in our numbers matchup of numbers, if we go back to it on isolation numbers last year and off picks, a bunch of our guys, almost all of our guys are better in isolation than they are in picks, right? If we run down it, Sexton's a 1.15 on isolations, just 0.99 on picks. THT's a 0.9 on isolation, 0.9 on picks. Chris Dunn was a 1.39 on isolation, 1.01 on picks. Clarkson's about 1.04 on both. Our guys are better just driving to the basket than they are bringing a 7-footer up to set a pick. So space the floor, get the positioning right, get it done, and let these guys get into the lane and drive. And then kick out to our shooters. Clarkson was brilliant at it the other night. THT is really, really good at it. Collins best when he's off the ball using his superpower, and he was terrific in the second half after a somewhat shaky first half. And saw a bunch of great plays in the second half out of him. And some of this is because of the combinations that were on the floor. So we'll do that for you, as well as taking a look at the New Zealand Breakers. So if you're a big enough fan to be listening to this show, and you're going to watch the game against the New Zealand Breakers and watch me try to do TV again, or listen to Scotty G and Ron, that's fine. Scotty G, from all reports, did a fabulous job. I did not hear it, but I actually don't doubt it. I listen to his Utah State stuff a lot, and he's really, really good. So not surprising. It's funny. I find it surprising if I did all right, but I don't find it surprising if Scotty did. It's funny how our minds work, personally. Anyway, so that'll be tonight, and I'll give you a little bit of the Breakers, just a short. Don't worry, not a lot of Breaker stuff, but I will have that for you. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The BetterHelp is a online-based therapy company. It's kind of a great concept, right? Because I don't know if anyone's tried to find a therapist recently, but it's impossible. And so how do you make your brain get out of its own way? Think of therapy as performance enhancing. How do I get better and use my brain better than I am right now? How do I navigate some of the items that make me who I am in a positive way? Therapy helps you figure out what's holding you back so you can work for yourself instead of against yourself. Performance enhancing. So therapy allows you to kind of free yourself, understand yourself, think about what you might be able to improve yourself. And BetterHelp is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Great. Fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So not only is it not impossible to find one, you can switch if you don't vibe with the person you get to start. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA and get 10% off your first month. So that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. To the everydayers, you're awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. Everybody's walking by me. Everydayer. Love it. You'll get me to stop in my tracks every time. It means a ton to me. I fully get, if you're really an everydayer and we're really spending 2.5 hours a week together, you and I are like best friends. Because I don't spend 2.5 hours with anyone other than Ron, and he's my best friend. So he doesn't know that, but so truly, really, really appreciate you. One security guy the other day walking through the arena, he's like, I'm an everyday. I was like, awesome. Now that was at the end of the night, and I didn't stop totally dead in my tracks because I was exhausted having just tried to do TV. All right, combinations. So we start Clarkson with THT, Lauri, who was dominant, Collins, who looked more comfortable, and Walker. And the first substitution was Kelly Olynyk at the 7:20 mark. Okay, so now you're playing. This is pretty cool. Now you're playing 5 out. Really, because Olynyk can shoot the 3. You've got Kessler. You've got Collins, who's shooting it okay right now, with Taylor Horton-Tucker and with Jordan Clarkson. You're just going to have to be able to rebound. Kelly's just not a good rebounder, but Lowry's a good rim defender. The next substitution, which came a minute later, was Colin Sexton for Taylor Horton-Tucker. So we're suddenly playing Jordan Clarkson with Colin Sexton together, which I didn't think we could do. A bunch of people have told me we could. I've been saying that. Everydayers have heard me say that. I actually like it in this lineup. Why? Because Collins is in one corner, Olynyk is pulled to the top, Markkanen's got incredible gravity. Sexton and Jordan can just drive. And so can everyone else. Markkanen got a cutting dunk off an Olynyk pass on the first possession and a foul. Sexton got a running layup off a Clarkson assist on the next possession. Lauri got fouled on the next possession. Collins got fouled on the next possession after that. Sexton got fouled on a drive on the possession after that. Lauri hit a 10-footer. We scored on 6 straight possessions when we went to this lineup. Collins missed a 26-footer. That's going to happen. Then we got another foul. That lineup rolled. It's interesting. How do you use, this is where Will Hardy is just suddenly showing his incredible acumen. How do you use these guys? How do you get the best out of them? Tried Colin and THT together. Didn't feel right. Put Jordan in there. Suddenly you're using Jordan's passing, his knowledge, his expertise, his veteran, his savvy. Felt right. Portland feels better than the Clippers. Let's be a little careful. New Zealand's going to feel better than, there's no question. New Zealand's going to feel better than any of them, right? And Sacramento's not good defensively either. So, hey, we'll see when we start playing, but felt better. Well, then how do you use Colin? As a driver, off the ball predominantly. Okay, then let him play with Jordan and open him up and play him 5 out so he's not playing with Collins and Kessler at the same time when there's not very much room on the floor. So then the next substitution was really interesting. Then Will Hardy went to a new grouping we've never seen before, which was Kessler at center with 4 guards. Chris Dunn, Keontae, Sexton, Agbaji. I've said this whole time I thought we were playing 9, not 10. And I didn't. And so we're playing 3 big men. And we're playing Agbaji as the backup there. And then we're playing 4 guards. That, I think, gets you to 10. Or it gets you to 9. Right? 4 guards, 2, 6, plus 3, 9. This is how it happens. But this is interesting because this suddenly lets you play 5 guards. Because you're now playing Chris Dunn and Keontae, and no one's left out. This lineup's going to have to rebound. It took a little while for it to find itself. It scored on only one of its first 4 possessions. And that was a Kessler basket. It can run. It should be able to be switchable defensively. It should be able to do some interesting things. Kessler had a beautiful pass to the corner to Keontae. The Jazz lived in the corners. Agbaji used the open floor to get a nice driving layup. They just didn't make a lot of shots in this group until they finally got out and rolling a little bit midway through the second quarter and stretched it out to a 10-point lead. They played for a long time together. And then at the 7th, they played about 5 minutes together, which is really long. And then Lauri came back for Keontae. Clarkson came back for Dunn. And you started to work your – Olynyk came back for Kessler. And now you started working your way back to the starting lineup, but with Olynyk instead of Kessler, so you're back to the 5 out. And so you're using a lot of the Kessler minutes as a rim defender with 4 guards against backup centers. Like it. Might be what's best for Walker. You're also allowing Kelly to play as a ball mover in this second lineup. So now you have Horton Tucker back out on the floor. You have Agbaji, Clarkson, Markkanen, and Olynyk. That's pretty interesting. Just for a really brief period of time, but that one's interesting. That one, again, you're going to have to rebound and rim defend, and Kelly gets put into the pick and roll as a defensive center. He's not great at it. And then finally, Collins comes in for Agbaji. And then in this case, Sexton came in for Horton Tucker with 5:36 left. And so it's back to Clarkson and Sexton with Markkanen, Collins, and Olynyk to close out most of that quarter. And Walker with 1:40 left came back in for the defensive purposes. That grouping was not great, actually. I think they came in, we were up 12. And by the time Walker came in, we were still up 10. Okay, so it just didn't feel, it wasn't as smooth. Defensively, it was actually really good. We just also missed shots can skew how you feel about things. So really interesting combinations from Will. All right, few notes. New Zealand's got 2 pesky guards. They're a guard-heavy team. There's a kid who played at Arizona His name's Parker Jackson Cartwright. He's 5'11". He's scored 20 in his NBL, 25 and 20 in his NBL debut. He's 5'11". He'll just get up underneath you. He's a top 100 prospect out of California, and played in Arizona. He's just gonna be pestering our ball handler the whole night. So it'll be a really good test for whoever. And our ball handlers are not like the cleanest ball handlers. There are other guys named Will McDowell White. He's 6'5". He's Australian. He played at Fresno State, and he's gonna kind of penetrate and shoot this floater. They got in the lane a lot on Portland. Those are their kind of two primary guard line guys. They did not shoot the ball well against Portland. They shot 30% and 16% from three. I think their three-point line is different. They were 6 of 38 from three. There's a guy named Zylan Cheatham, who played for the Stars. He averaged 16 and 11 for the Stars, who's also in their starting lineup. Anthony Lamb, former Warrior of last year, is on that roster. But they run nice stuff, and they play defense with intention. And so that will be a really good setup for the Jazz. You'll watch, Jackson Cartwright is pushing the guard in a direction, he's in your shorts, forcing you out of your natural flow of your offense. They're trying to do specific things to you defensively. So the Jazz will have to learn how to react off that, which will be good practice for them. They've got a kid who comes off the bench, Cameron Glidian, another Australian kid. He's their sharpshooter. He didn't make any of them. The other night he's 0 for 3 from 3. And then there's a kid named Dane Pinu who led the league in field goal percentage. And then they'll start a big center, 6'10" Sudanese kid, Matthew Yang, who played on the 2013 Louisville National Championship. Teams played about 44 NBA games. All right, that is the crew. That is the show. That is Locked On Jazz. We'll do reaction to the game and points gained for you tomorrow. Have a great one. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.